Control is not a thing. We are never in control. I'm not sure we can ever get full acceptance of anything. The more we remove our judgments from the emotions that we're feeling, the easier it tends to be for us to experience the emotions and then let them go. Emotions are not meant to be held on to. Emotions are a signal of how what we're experiencing is affecting us. I'm your host, Michael Hunter, and today I am bringing in me in future solo episodes, so settle down for a lot of me and no one else. Hello, and welcome to the Uncommon Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Hunter, and my guest today is, well, me. Whereas most of the time you're used to me bringing in other people, today I am bringing in me. In future solo episodes, we will feature your questions and comments for me. For today, as we're getting started and don't have any of those yet, I'll cover a few questions that I'm hearing a lot from everyone else that I'm talking to. So settle down for a lot of me and no one else. One thing we are seeing a lot of in business and the world today is people, especially higher up in an organization or through some structure of control, doing everything they possibly can to be even more in control. One example that comes to mind, I saw yesterday that one of the big want-to-be an AI companies are going to be recording all of the keystrokes and mouse movements that everyone in their entire company makes in the services of, they say, training their AI. That may be part of what they want. I haven't talked with anyone involved, so I can't say. It also seems to me like a really great way to have really close control over what everyone in the company is doing. If I know that my CEO may be watching a screen recording of what I do every day, I may act a little bit differently. What none of these people, and when I talk with individuals at the grocery store, at businesses, people coming to me, wanting to work with me, everyone, much of the time, seems to assume the control is a good thing. And even more, the control is possible. But I find control is not a thing. We are never in control. When someone talks about control, and especially of trying to be in control of a situation, one image that often comes to mind for me is Princess Leia talking to Darth Vader, saying, the more you grasped more tightly onto everyone in this galaxy, the more all those systems slip through your fingers. Which for me is a very vivid physical description of what happens when you try to control. Control is, we want to hold on to and make happen exactly the outcomes that we want to happen. For Darth Vader, it was knowing that every system under the Empire's control would do exactly what Vader and the Emperor and the others in the leadership wanted them to do. But what Princess Leia was pointing out was that the tighter we hold on to, the more we have to either compact everything in, and eventually, even if we manage to do that, there's a maximum compaction point, and so things are going to be slipping through fingers. I actually believe what I found through my experience personally and working with many people in many different contexts is we are never actually in control. One way to summarize what everyone I've spoken with, worked with, seems to mean by wanting to be in control is to have total, absolute, 100% confidence, guarantee that the outcome they want to create will come about in the time frame they want it to come about in, and probably in exactly the implementation that they want it to happen as. The reality is we have no control over everything. We can throw a ball with perfect aim directly at the target we want to hit. We have no way to guarantee that target is still going to be there. We can try to lock that target into place. We can glue it down. We can build a wall around it to hold it in place. And we still cannot guarantee that a tornado won't come along and rip it away from us. Or a building crew come through and build a bypass while we're throwing. Or just have someone come through and decide that that's not the right place for that target to be. Even with the way our body works, we have no control. There are all sorts of meditation and consciousness and presence techniques to help us go from a state we're not excited about being in into another one that we'd like to be in. And some of us may even be able to get to a point where we have high confidence that when we do that practice, we can get to the state we desire in a very specific short of time. This is still not us guaranteeing that outcome. It is us doing a practice that we have practiced many, many times and made it such second nature and have so much practice at it that we have high confidence that we're probably going to get there. And it's not going to happen every time. I remember an interview with Pema Chodron, who I'm probably mispronouncing, who's one of the Buddhist teachers who has authored a bunch of books and been written on a gazillion articles, saying that she still falls asleep during meditation. If someone like her, who has been practicing meditation for many decades, still sometimes falls asleep when she meditates, what hope do any of the rest of us have to never fall asleep when we meditate, or to stay perfectly present in a situation, or to create whatever outcome we intend to create? It is just not going to happen. That's phase one. And now a note from our sponsor, me. If you're liking this, please subscribe and like and hit that alarm bell so that you find out every time we post a new episode. And with that, back to this episode. So, if we are never actually in control, if we can never actually be guaranteed to create the outcome that we desire, what do we do with that? That is a lot to take on. After all, what does every boss everywhere expect us to do? Create the outcomes that they ask us to create. What does every spouse, family member, friend, religious figure, everyone we look up to or ask advice from, what do they expect us to do? Take their advice, take their suggestions, take their teachings, take their directions, and create the outcome that they are expecting us to create, that they suggest we can create. The first thing to do, and the absolute hardest thing, is to just accept that we can't do it. And it doesn't matter that everyone else expects us to. Actually, that part of acceptance, accepting that everyone else expects us to do something and we're not going to be able to do it, that may be the hardest part. Because we don't want to disappoint them. Because we have learned that the way to be safe is to not disappoint them, to do exactly what they ask us to do, to create that outcome. You may have different reasons why accepting that you cannot create the outcomes other people want you to is not possible. Whatever those reasons are, take a step to get very specific about what that expectation is. Maybe that's write it down. Maybe that's do an interpretive dance about it. Maybe it's go use sidewalk chalk on your driveway. Maybe it's to take a walk and talk with a tree or a mosquito or the friendly neighborhood black bear. One of the most common factors that holds us back from accepting that we're not in control or anything else we're trying to accept is not understanding what it is we're actually trying to accept. So here we are wanting to accept that we're not in control, which means we're wanting to accept one factor of why we're not in control, which means we need to understand some itty-bitty little piece of that one factor out of all the factors involved that's making us just super challenging for us to accept that we're not in control. This may take a second once we recognize what that one little piece of that one factor of all the things is. It may take the rest of our life. It's all good. Just the fact that we start working on this, have the intent to understand even that smallest part of the big picture, helps us move through it and accept not just that little part, but also the bigger part. This acceptance, I find, is not a built this brick and then this brick and then this brick and then this brick and then this brick, and when I get all of the bricks built up, I have a whole wall of acceptance. What it always works in my experience is by starting to work to accept this little piece, we're actually rippling out and accepting a little bit, maybe even a little bit more than a little bit of everything involved. So it's not that to fully accept that we are not in control, that we have to accept every little piece of all the factors involved. We may never even accept any of the pieces in full. I'm not sure we can ever get full acceptance of anything. What matters isn't the destination, it's the journey. To bring up that old cliche. Simply by working, doing one thing after another, to accept a little bit more, this one little piece, we are rippling out into all those other things and actually becoming much more accepting of all of it all the way through. And it doesn't matter if we never get full acceptance of any of it. We don't need to get full acceptance. There will come a point at which the factor that we are working on, we realize isn't really a big deal anymore. Yes, maybe sometimes it rears its head and really annoys us for a little bit, or even a long bit. But most of the time, in most situations, it's not a big deal. One of the things that accepting even the little of these pieces and the bigger ripple snowball of the larger situation is that we are inflicting change on ourselves, because we're changing how we view the world, how we experience it, how we smell it, taste it, see it, hear it, feel it. With change, there's a predictable pattern, at least in the model that I use, of we're going along happily in status quo. A foreign element shows up, which in this example is us working to accept the fact, this one little piece of the bigger fact that we cannot ever be in control. We probably are going to resist that foreign element for at least a little bit, maybe for longer. At some point, we give in and say, fine. I recognize the thing that's holding me back from recognizing that I can't ever be in control. And we dive into chaos because we don't know what to do. Now that we've accepted that that's little part that is holding us back and what that is, the impact that that's having on us, how it connects to all sorts of other things that maybe we were trying to ignore. This is a really uncomfortable place for many people, chaos. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how to move out of there. It's like being caught in a stormy sea and everything that we know about swimming suddenly doesn't apply anymore because those waves are a lot bigger. And the pool noodle or inflatable duck or whatever we've been holding on to help us enjoy being in the big body of water suddenly is ripped away or just isn't doing the job it was doing before. At some point, as we flail around, a transforming idea is going to make itself known. This may show up in a glorious blaze of light with trumpets and horns and all sorts of things announcing its amazing status as the transforming idea. Or it may just whisper in our ear. The transforming idea gives us a way out of chaos, a way to turn that foreign element, which in this case is this small piece of why we can't ever be in control, to give us a more solid foundation. Help us reorient ourselves out of the chaos back towards a space where we kind of know how things are going to go and how to handle them as they come up. As we latch on to this transforming idea and ride it out of the chaos, we are learning how to incorporate this transforming idea into our experience. Maybe we're going to get lucky and this transforming idea is exactly what we need, exactly the right time, in exactly the right format, shape, smell, taste. Everything about it is exactly perfect to get us out of the chaos and up to a new status quo. If that happens, I am so happy for you. Those are amazing times and whirlwind experiences that can be so much fun and amazing. In my experience, however, that first transforming idea is not quite enough. Maybe it's not quite all there. Maybe we need another transforming idea alongside it. Maybe that transforming idea isn't actually for us. So while we're hoping for a ride from chaos up to a new status quo, probably we're going to get partway up and then we're going to get dragged back towards chaos a bit because we realize that transforming idea isn't everything we hoped it would be. Or maybe we just need to practice with that transforming idea for a while. And so we're kind of going back and forth, circling around, wandering around, mostly going up and out of chaos, but not in a super straight, short shot out of the cannon line. We may even dive back into chaos, and we can even end up farther into chaos, realizing that I had this transforming idea and it didn't work at all. Now I'm even worse than before. This can be a overwhelming time, dismaying, so much hope, so much hopes being dashed. The more we can stick with it, the more we're gaining experience, and the more transforming ideas come along, and the more we learn how to incorporate those transforming ideas, mash them together into the combination, the synthesis that will take us out of the pit of despair that is chaos into the wonderful new status quo. One of the things that we're learning as we go through this experience is what learning looks like for us, what it feels like, tastes like, smells like, sounds like. The more we understand how we learn, the more we understand how that model of change I just described works for us, the more we have a guidance system to help us through this particular change of recognizing that we're never in control, and every other change that comes upon us. And that helps the transition, that whole transformation journey, become a little more smooth, a little more easy, a little more fun, even perhaps, because we know what to expect, more or less. It's never going to be exactly that, and we'll be surprised all the time. But it's the difference between I'm going from New York City to Seattle, Washington, and then end up in Seoul, Korea. And I'm leaving New York City, recognizing I don't actually know where I want to go or how I want to get there if I do know where I want to go. And I'm building up my own system for how I get from place to place. The more comfortable we get with that, the easier it is to come to terms with the fact that even with our understanding of the system, we're still never in control. Part of admitting that we're never actually in control is understanding what control means to us. Every person I talk with has a different definition. Some people more than one. One broad summary I'll put across everything I've heard, everyone that I've talked with, is control is guaranteeing an outcome. This can show up in many different ways. In business, we're often told that a certain thing will create a certain outcome. Management wants everyone to put in status reports, and then they'll roll that up and roll that up and roll that up so that every person at each level up the organization achieves the outcome of knowing what everyone under them is doing. Engineering teams, software development teams often follow some specific process for developing software that they have learned or been told will guarantee the outcome of shipping quality software. These control mechanisms sometimes are very specific. Every individual contributor will have status report to their manager by noon o'clock on Friday. Their manager will have that rolled up to their manager by 2 p.m. on Friday, and so on until it gets up to the CEO by 3 a.m. Saturday morning. In other cases, this control mechanism may be much more conceptual. like the Agile principle of preferring people over process. In both cases, this is a guideline to follow, a rule for if you do this, then this will happen. If the individual contributor has their status report to their manager by noon and it gets up each roll, then by 3 a.m. the CEO will have a perfect understanding of what is going on in their company. If every person on every engineering team always prefers people over process, then we will create the perfect software that our customers love in our door and give us tons of money for. However, since we can't create outcomes, we can't guarantee outcomes. We always create outcomes, but we can never guarantee the outcome that we will create. So even the most strict process is actually a heuristic, which is a fallible method of creating some outcome. The Agile Manifesto's point of preferring people over process, this is a very self-aware heuristic. As conceptual as that Agile point of preferring people over processes, some people take it as absolute mechanistic, deterministic rule. I must always prefer people over process. That means anytime that a person wants to do something that the process prevents them from doing, we always overrule the process. Whatever mechanism we are attempting to use to create a specific outcome, there are a gazillion ways that that's going to fail. And because it is a heuristic, not a rule, it is a fallible method for encouraging that outcome to come about. It may not happen. There's no way for us to guarantee, even if every step in the status report process happens perfectly, exactly on time, in complete detail, we still have no way to guarantee that the CEO or anyone in between has a perfect understanding of what's going on with everyone underneath them. Part of why that is because we probably all have different definitions of what that outcome is, what it looks, feels, tastes, sounds, smells like. Perfect understanding of what everyone means may not mean each person through that entire reporting chain knowing exactly what each person below them is doing every moment of every day. It may not even mean having even a vague idea of the broad strokes of what any of those people are doing. When we make assumptions of what it means to each person along the line, this is one source of conflict. If I assume that you want all the specific details, and you actually want just to know that any unexpected dangers are going to be flagged, then we're working at cross purposes. Another way to say this is that what we mean by control is a perfectly shared definition of value. When I talk with leaders about what they want from status reports, it's almost never a perfect understanding of what every person is doing all along the reporting chain. There are some common themes. Often, early warning of potential dangers, risks, steps we're taking to mitigate or avoid those risks, some level of confidence that the outcomes we are aiming for, we're making progress towards rapidly enough to get there in the time frames that we are desired. Many other things. Until we make those conscious, explicit, then everyone is guessing what everyone else wants and probably guessing wrong. Because none of us can read anyone else's minds. A really simple thing to do to start making this better, to increase the chances that the outcomes we desire will come about. Hey, just a second from the episode to please, if you're liking what you're hearing so far, hit that subscribe button down there and like the heck out of this video so you get more like this and we can bring you more of what you love. Thanks. Now back to the show. So you could say to be more in control, even though we can't ever actually be in control, is to start asking each other, what is the value that you gain from this activity? Hey, my manager, what is the value that you get from the status report I delivered to you? What is the value you get from the format I delivered in? What is the value you get from receiving it in the time frame that you're asking it for? And then asking that of their manager and their manager and their manager and their manager. When we understand the value, then we have all sorts of new opportunities for delivering that value. Some of those are very likely to be much more likely to create the outcome that we're all aiming for. And even if it doesn't, simply knowing all the different values that everyone involved is hoping for helps us produce those values for everyone involved. When people say they want to be in control, they want to guarantee an outcome, another way to say this is they want to increase as close to 100% as they can the production of specific value. So now that we have started to accept that we're never actually in control, we have some ideas of how to start to come to terms with that. We understand more about what control actually means and how to lead without being in control. We can get into what is often the most scary part of all of this, which is all the squishy people in motion, icky, scary stuff. I know this is scary because so many of you have told me, Michael, the reason I got into software or the role that you have, the business that you're in, is so I don't have to deal with all the squishy, icky people, emotion, people stuff. So why is control, and especially lack of control, scary? Let's go back to the change model I mentioned earlier. When we start out in new status quo, everything is hunky-dory, even if we're not happy there. We know what to expect. We know to handle what's going to come up. And we know that the way that we have to handle what's probably going to come up is probably going to take care of those situations good enough. There's not going to be many surprises, and we're going to go through our day more or less fine. When we're not in control, we can feel like that is all out the window. And our entire life is bouncing up and down between chaos and new status quo. Chaos, status quo, status quo, chaos, status quo, chaos, status quo, chaos. We never know where we're going to be at any moment. We never know how long we're going to get to stay in any of those states. We never know what's going to happen. Which is kind of like just being in chaos all the time. For many people, this is not a happy place. This is not a comfortable place. They do not want to be here. That's all fine. If we want to get more comfortable with this, so we can get more comfortable with this new state we're realizing is actually where we are, where we're never actually in control. One place to start is to identify what's going on right now. What emotions are we feeling? What effects are those emotions having for us? What meaning do we put on those emotions? And what do we feel about having those emotions? Here's a concrete example from someone I talked with recently. They had just realized that they were not in control of anything that was going on in their business, and they were freaked out. When we dug into what freaking out meant for them, it was a combination of dismay, utter terror, and excitement. Dismay because they felt that meant they weren't being the leader that they wanted to be. So this was some of the meaning they were putting onto that dismay. Utter terror because now they had zero confidence that this company they had poured their heart and soul into for the last 10 years was actually going to continue being a going concern. And excitement, because they were getting bored. They were ready for a change. They just didn't expect that change to show up in this particular way. When we dug into that excitement, we discovered that they felt guilty for being excited about this change because they knew the effects that this change was going to have on all of their people and all of their customers and everyone else relying on this company continuing to be successful. They felt guilty about feeling guilty because they had drilled in from the time that they were born that their job was to create a successful business and nothing else mattered. So the fact that they were feeling guilty about the impact this was having on their people and suppliers and customers meant they were not just being 100% focused on creating a successful business. And they felt emotions about that. They felt guilty about letting other people's expectations about the way they should live their lives to impact how they ran their business. This is all super common. We don't even have to resolve any of this. Just like we talked about earlier with accepting that we're not in control and accepting just a little bit, one little piece of that bigger thing of not being in control. We don't have to change any of the emotions that we're feeling. We don't even have to find the root causes of where they come from and resolve all of those and clear that all out of our system. Simply knowing what's going on makes it a little easier for us to mitigate the impact all of those emotions are having on us. And move forward in a way that is more authentic to us versus us being weighed down and swayed by all this other stuff. Another piece of moving through all of these emotions is realizing that we don't have control over emotions, even the ones that we feel. And what's more, emotions are just a normal thing. Something happens, we feel emotions about it. The fact that I feel one emotion based on this experience that we're sharing, and you feel a different emotion, is totally normal. It doesn't mean either of us is wrong. If we're on a roller coaster together, I am super excited and you're terrified, or vice versa. Or maybe instead of terrified, you're just utterly bored. This does not mean that it's a bad roller coaster, that you're a bad person or I'm a bad person. It's just our different experiences. The more we remove our judgments from the emotions that we're feeling, the easier it tends to be for us to experience the emotions and then let them go. Emotions are not meant to be held on to. Emotions are a signal of how what we're experiencing is affecting us. It's kind of like saying, as we're going down the road, our speedometer tells us that we are going way over the speed limit. We don't need to hold on to that, going way over a speed limit. We can just say, oh, hey, I'm way over the speed limit. I wonder what I want to do with that. Maybe I drop down to the speed limit. Maybe I take the next exit, stop, take some time away from driving to let go of whatever is causing me to be going so fast. Or just take a break. Maybe I decide to stay there because actually I'm in a place where going way over the speed limit isn't a big deal or is even expected. I'm not telling you to break the law. I'm telling you, do what you consciously decide to do with that signal. And don't hold on to the signal itself. So, if you're feeling dismayed, take a moment to understand what the dismay is telling you, and then to decide what to do about it. Rather than holding on to the dismay, and then the guilt or shame, or dismay that you're feeling dismay, or joy and excitement, or whatever it is you're feeling about that dismay. Science is telling us now, discovering, that one reason physical ailments manifest in our body is from holding on to emotions rather than letting them go. Just like some spiritual and other traditions have told us for thousands and thousands of years. The reverse can be true as well. That something physically going in our body can cause us to feel emotions, and then we spiral back and forth between those. So this brings us back to where we started. That even when it comes to the emotions that we're feeling, we are never in control. Yes, if we want to feel super happy or super sad or super something else, we can take action that will probably lead us into feeling that emotion. But we're still not in control of what we feel. That's not always going to work. we may feel something else instead of the emotion that we want to head towards. And a really curious thing happens, I find, that the more we accept we're not in control, that we cannot guarantee the outcomes that we want to create, the more we recognize feelings as signals, notice what they're telling us, and then let them go, the more likely we actually are to be able to handle those foreign elements that show up, spend as little time in chaos as we want to, recognize those transforming ideas when they show up, make use of them to help us learn and grow and move in to that new status quo. Which is to say, the more we recognize that we're not able to guarantee the outcomes we want to create, the more likely we actually are to create those outcomes. This is one of the many paradoxes of life, I find. So for people who are feeling the chaos of not being in control and want to be more in control, even though they're realizing that they can't be, what's one thing they can do to start that journey? Here's where I'll leave you today. If you have taken what I said, oh my gosh, this is amazing, this is exactly what I needed, I know exactly what to do with it all, I am so happy, thank you so much, Michael. Great, I am super happy for you. And for everyone else who is a little more, I don't really know what to do with this next, here's a suggestion. Ask yourself, what is uncomfortable for me about this idea that I may not always be able to create the outcomes that I want to create? Take a little bit of time today, pose that question, and then wait for an answer. You don't have to wait a long time. Just take a couple minutes. Doing some activity that helps you listen to your inner guidance. See it, hear it, feel it, smell it, taste it. And discover what comes up. And if you don't recognize anything coming up, that's fine. There's stuff seeping in, even if you don't consciously recognize it yet. Before you go to bed tonight, take a few minutes again for that question. And then once or twice a day, over the next several days, take a few minutes to pose that question and discover what answers might make themselves known. If answers become clear, then great. It gives you a way to use those answers to help you know how to move next. If no answers make themselves known, then great. They are seeping in, and just do what feels right to do next. Either way, whatever you learn from the experience, you're learning, and that is the best way, I find, to move forward. Because by doing something, you have learned something, even if that's that you don't recognize what you learned. So you're moving forward, which means you can never be stuck. As long as you're always doing something and paying attention to what you learn. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day. Please let me know in the comments what you learned. And if you'd like a little more guidance than I've given you here today, then check out my book, The Resilient Tech Leader, where I go through the change model in a little more depth, and I have jam-packed it full of tools to help you make this and similar transitions. Go to theresilienttechleader.com, sign up for my newsletter, and I'll send you a free PDF. And of course, it's on Amazon and all the other places as well.